As you know, for the past several days, I've been talking about how the elite class is blowing everything, and then they combine that with a system of morality, which also shows that they hate you. And that combo is a loser. It is a loser in America. It is a loser globally. It is a loser everywhere. This administration, the Biden administration, they're pursuing the kind of environmental policy the New York Times would like them to pursue, which has resulted, by the way, in massively increased gas prices. That spike began when Joe Biden took office. The Biden administration now trying to brag that prices have come down in the last month or so. So let me get this straight. When the prices go up, it's Putin's price hike. But when they go down, it's because Joe Biden is good at this somehow. Wouldn't it be shouldn't we give credit to Vladimir Putin? After all, it would be presumably Vladimir Putin's policy that changed things because Joe Biden's hasn't changed a single thing. Well, you combine that with the scorn that the upper crust elite in the United States have for the morality of everybody else, and you end up with a losing hand, politically speaking. But they can't back off of it, and they won't back off of it, which is how you end up with the Undersecretary for Health and Human Services, Dr. Rachel Levine, who is a biological man, explaining that we need to, quote unquote, empower kids to go on puberty blockers. Empower kids to go on puberty blockers, says a biological man with gender dysphoria who, this is, by the way, his only qualification for being in office. He was not good at being the Secretary of Health and Human Services in Pennsylvania. He was so bad in Pennsylvania that when they had a nursing home crisis, they had the same exact issues as New York. They were shipping old people back to nursing homes that had COVID. He was taking his own mother out of the nursing home at the exact same time. And then they're like, this woman sounds amazing. Let's pluck him from obscurity in Pennsylvania and make him Undersecretary for Health and Human Services. So here is our brilliant Undersecretary for Health and Human Services, Rachel Levine, explaining that kids need to go on puberty blockers.
Trans youth are vulnerable, and they suffer significant harassment and bullying, sometimes in schools or in their community. They have more mental health issues, but there's nothing inherent with being transgender or gender diverse which would predispose youth to depression or anxiety. It is that harassment and bullying. Now they're suffering politically motivated attacks through state actions against these vulnerable transgender youth. This is not based upon data. These actions are politically motivated, and so we really want to base our treatment and to affirm and to support and empower these youth, not to limit their participation in activities in sports, and even limit their ability to get gender affirmation treatment in their state.
Okay, this is a sick and perverse ideology directly at odds with basic human biology, basic human reason, science, and nearly the entirety of humanity today, as well as throughout human history. First of all, when Dr. Rachel Levine suggests that there is no consonance between LGBTQ plus minus divided by sign ampersand tilde identity and depression and suicidal ideation, that just doesn't exist, that's only bullying. There is, let me explain, zero data to back that. I don't mean there's some data to back, I mean there is zero data to back that. The best you can say is that there might be some data to suggest exacerbation of an underlying association between these things. Exacerbation, but we don't know to what degree it's exacerbated, considering you can go to San Francisco where everybody is extraordinarily tolerant of LGBTQ plus minus divided by sign ampersand hashtag emoji identity. And yet the suicidal ideation rates and depression rates are still off the charts for this particular group of people. So that's just a lie. It's not true. But based on that, you now have the Undersecretary for Health and Human Services saying, and I have to say, this is an evil thing to say, that it empowers youth to have them, quote, gender affirmed. That it empowers young people, like an 11-year-old, to say, you know what, you think that you're a girl, you actually are a girl. And probably what you should do is have hormone treatments that permanently damage your body. And then, if you go far enough, we should permanently sterilize you, and we should perform a surgery on you, mutilating your genitals. This is somehow empowerment. We've come a long way on the empowerment front, it seems. But this is elite morality. Now, I think most elites in American society, most people who are in the upper crust, they don't believe this stuff. They don't believe it for 1 second. I know because I talk to many of them. I'm friends with many of them. They don't believe this stuff. They know they're supposed to say it because when they say it, it means that they are tolerant. And really what it means is they are attacking traditional values. And those traditional values are, of course, very bad. Right? The real problem is if you bring your kid to church. If you bring your kid to a 4th of July parade, you bring your kid to church, that's scary. That's really, really bad stuff. But it makes you a great parent and it makes society a much better place if you tell little girls that they can be little boys and vice versa. It's empowerment. It's so much empowerment that schools should be instructed to transition your kids socially without you even knowing about it. This is what the elite class say. Now, in the privacy of their homes, do they actually believe this stuff? Behind closed doors, when they talk with one another, Do they actually believe that boys can become girls and girls can become boys? And that men who believe that they are women are actually women? Of course they don't, because they're not complete fools. They just believe that they can get away with nearly anything because, after all, they are the upper crust elite and they can change reality to meet all of their demands of reality. And the Biden administration is staffed with tons of people like this, for whom the core priority is quote unquote empathy. And by empathy, they don't mean giving people the health care they need. What they mean by empathy is however you identify yourself in any given moment must thus be cheered and celebrated by society, and anything less is a form of cruelty. This is what they actually believe, which presumably is why, according to Breitbart, the Biden administration's CDC is promoting an activist organization that seeks to embed leftist gender theory in the classroom. The CDC LGBT Youth Resources page directs teachers to access educator resources from the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, GLSEN, a left-wing organization that seeks to embed gender theory into America's classrooms. Look for ways to support Ally Week, No Name Calling Week, or Day of Silence. Interested in finding ways to bring LGBTQ visibility into your curriculum? You've come to the right place, says the GLSEN website. The organization continues by noting the guides can be used to direct activism and embed ideological positions into school curricula, when it says GLSEN's education team has created educator guides for each of our days of action. The Biden administration is really, really into this stuff. And so is the entire elite woke left. I mean, they have decided to engage in this particular battle, mainly because fealty in this battle demonstrates true fealty. If the idea of all group membership is that you have to have some skin in the game, you have to perform some sort of religious ritual, for example, to be a member of religion, you have to do something on behalf of your team in order to be considered a member of the team. The ultimate sacrifice that you make in order to be a member of the elite left is to sacrifice your reason on the altar of things like gender ideology, so sophisticated that only the brilliant gender theorists at Harvard can explain it, even if they can't tell Matt Walsh what exactly a woman is. Which is how you end up with, by the way, trans swimmer Leah Thomas being nominated for the NCAA Woman of the Year award. You guys excited? This is how good men are at everything. We are so good at everything. The patriarchy is so clever that we now have women winning the NCAA Woman of the Year award. I mean, this dude has only purportedly been a woman for like 5 minutes, and he's already the best woman. That's how good men are. Men aren't just the best at being men. They're the best at being women also. It's unbelievable how good they are. Right? Leah Thomas, who is a biological dude who is twice the size of the women that he is racing against, also happens to be the greatest woman in world history, according to the NCAA. According to NBC News, Thomas competed on the Penn's men team for 3 years before transitioning and moving to the women's team, setting multiple program records. By the way, by transitioning, we don't mean that this person actually had all the surgeries. That has not happened yet. Her eligibility had come under considerable scrutiny, including from several Penn teammates. The NCAA said member schools nominated a total of 577 graduating student athletes. Each school can recognize up to 2 female athletes. Thomas had been nominated for swimming and diving in Division I. The Women of the Year selection committee will select 10 student athletes from each of the 3 NCAA divisions. The winner will be named at the NCAA convention in January in San Antonio. And man, I look forward to Leah Thomas accepting the NCAA Woman of the Year on behalf of men everywhere. That'd be really exciting. By the way, the fallout from this stuff is so predictable and insane and stupid. It really is amazing. So, for example, according to NJ.com, a transgender inmate who impregnated 2 women while incarcerated at Edna Mahan Correctional Facility for Women has been moved to a new facility, according to the Department of Corrections. Demi Minor, 27, was transferred to Garden State Youth Correctional Facility, a prison for young adult offenders in Burlington County last month, according to Dan Speranza, Department of Corrections spokesman. He said the DOC, the Department of Corrections, moved Minor to the vulnerable unit at the facility, and she is currently the only woman prisoner on the site. Speranza said he could not comment on the DOC's specific housing actions in Minor's case because of policies around privacy. According to the Corrections Department, Minor is serving a 30-year sentence for manslaughter and is eligible for parole in 2037. Neither she nor her attorney could be reached for comment Friday. But a July 5th post on Minor's website claims correction officers forcibly removed her from Edna Mahan and beat her during a transfer to Garden State Youth Correctional Facility. The news of Minor's transfer comes nearly 3 months after NJ Advanced Media reported that Minor impregnated 2 women during consensual sexual relationships. By the way, the miracles of gender theory. I mean, what a miracle. I'd never really particularly thought that a woman could impregnate another woman because that's the stupidest thing in the entire world. Literally, there is nothing possible. You could not say a stupider thing than a woman impregnated another woman. It is not possible to say anything stupider than that. But this is now what our entire media proclaims. And to prove it, we will put men in correctional facilities with women and then pretend that we are shocked when their female penises somehow generate children. This is it's an astonishing. Wow, what a great woman! But I mean, a historic woman, truly. I mean, these women are so good at being women that they can actually generate sperm cells that impregnate other women and still be women, like the most magical women of all time. It's all insane. By the way, one final story on this topic, because it's just impossible not to laugh at this story because it's hysterically funny. So apparently, there have now been calls, I'm not kidding, there have now been calls for anthropologists to stop labeling the corpses that they find, like skeletons that they find, thousands of years later, by either male or female. Not kidding. According to the College Fix, as soon as ancient human remains are excavated, archaeologists begin the work of determining a number of traits about the individual, including age, race, and gender. But a new school of thought within archaeology is pushing scientists to think twice about assigning gender to ancient human remains. It's possible to determine whether a skeleton is from a biological male or female using objective observations based on size and shape of the bones. Critical forensic detectives do it frequently in their line of work, but gender activists argue scientists cannot know how an ancient individual identify themselves. Canadian master's degree candidate Emma Palladino said, quote, "You might know the argument that the archaeologists who find your bones one day will assign you the same gender you had at birth. So regardless of whether you transition, you can't escape your assigned sex." But, said Palladino, this is bull bleep. Labeling remains male or female. It's rarely the end goal of any excavation anyway, wrote Palladino. The bioarchaeology of the individual is what we aim for, factoring in absolutely everything we discover about a person into a nuanced, open-ended biography of their life. She is not alone. Gender activists have now formed a group called the Transgender Task Force to explore ways in which current standards in forensic human identification do a disservice to people who clearly do not fit the gender binary. We propose a gender-expansive approach to human identification by combing missing and unidentified databases looking for contextual clues, such as dissidents wearing clothing culturally coded to a gender other than their assigned sex. We maintain our own database of missing and unidentified people who we have determined may be transgender or gender variant. So we are now supposed to believe that if you uncover a skeletal remain from cavemen days, maybe Grog over here was actually Grogina and was cross-dressing and thinking that he was a very female woman with his very female caveman junk. According to Professor Jennifer Raff, University of Kansas, she published, I don't mean to assume her gender, but she's a woman. She published a story called Origin, A Genetic History of the Americas, in which she argued there are, quote, no neat divisions between physically or genetically male or female individuals. None. Raff suggested scientists can't know the gender of a 9,000-year-old biologically Peruvian hunter because they don't know whether the hunter identified as male or female. A duality, she says, that was imposed by Christian colonizers. What? So male and female, which exists in literally all mammalian species, is now created by Western colonizers? I mean, first of all, if Western colonizers did actually promote that idea, good for the Western colonizers, because that's like just what all of human reproduction relies on. So I'm sorry if that comes as breaking news to people, but it's true for it's true for the giraffes and it's true for us. It's true for all of us. But apparently that is also a Western invention. It's all Western invention. So it has now invaded all the sacrosanct spaces, including science. So just remember, all of the people who say that they are in favor of the science, they actually are not counting on scientific innovation to solve our problems. They actually are not in favor of great scientific minds applying their knowledge to solving really, really important human problems through the creation of new and amazing things. Instead, they've decided that they are going to overthrow science in favor of bad environmental policy, bad gender policy, bad everything policy, because they know better, And then they wonder why everybody looks at them and thinks that they are some of the most well-educated idiots on planet Earth. Who's got two thumbs and wants you to like and subscribe?